Winning the presidency. What does that take? A strong debate?
I am paying for this microphone, Mr.
This is all theater. It's theater of politics. And it's trying to get people to come into the theater and take a look and see if they like your play.
Yes, we can.
You have to learn to see these campaigns through the lens of a camera.
Campaigns are made of moments that everyone remembers.
The difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick.
There you go again.
Where's the beef?
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
And moments they'd like to forget.
Commerce, education, and the, what's the third one there? Oops.
Tonight, we take you behind the scenes.
See if the plane company can do this slash.
We'll show you what they don't like to talk about.
So lying is okay in politics.
What's behind winning the presidency? When it comes to winning the presidency, I'd like to think that the choice is about whose ideas are better. But when you talk to people behind the scenes, they talk about moments.
There are a series of moments, and that's what matters.
Remember the scream? Howard Dean led John Kerry in early polls, but then, after a loss, he tried to rally the troops.
We're going to California and Texas and New York.
The room was noisy, and people in the room said this sounded like a normal rally.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
But because Dean's microphone picked up only Dean's voice, the TV broadcast made him sound crazy. That, unfairly, may have killed his campaign. Even images can matter more than issues. This video is said to have hurt John Kerry. This is said to have helped Bill Clinton. In the 1980 Republican primary, George Bush had momentum against Ronald Reagan, until in a debate in New Hampshire, there was a moment where Reagan looked strong.
I am paying for this microphone, Mr.
That moment helped change the campaign.
Some of them you could create.
Read my lips. No new answers.
The difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick.
Other ones, you've got to depend on your candidate seizing a moment that you didn't expect to happen.
There you go again.
Most moments so far this election have been poorly phrased comments.
Bridges, if you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
I like being able to fire people who provide services to me.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
The media call those gaffes, but often the media don't know. When Ed Muskie lost the 72 primary because he looked like he teared up defending his wife, everyone said candidates can't cry because that's weak. But then in 2008, Hillary Clinton cried.
You know, I have so many opportunities from this country.
She began to tear up. And her voice cracked a little bit. She was emotional.
I just don't want to see us fall backwards.
She showed being human.
So, you know, this is very personal for me.
Pundits pounced.
Well, people perceive that as weakness.
Yeah, I think they will, and I think they should.
It makes her look like her campaign's in trouble.
But the pundits were wrong. The day before, polls showed Clinton 10 points behind. The next day, she beat Obama in the New Hampshire primary.
The kind of comeback that New Hampshire has just given me.
She tears up, and that moves 11 points in one day.
She showed some real authenticity, and I think voters very much were attracted to that.
Authenticity is rare in politics and in presidential campaigns. The consultants strive to control everything.
This is all theater.
Democrat Bob Beckel has counseled hundreds of candidates.
It's theater of politics, and it's trying to get people to come into the theater and take a look and see if they like your play.
Here in Cleveland, the Romney campaign's preparing a play. They're trying to get lots of people to watch.
The only way you can attract them into the theater if it looks good.
So I think just take the striped side and let's tighten that out a little bit.
Just one presidential campaign event in the fall, in general election, involves 400 people, advanced people, setting up a stage.
Mic check, 1, 2.
A presidential campaign stop involves a lot of hard work.
Most are paid to do this. Some are volunteers.
Does anybody have any questions?
The planning starts days earlier.
We send people driving around small towns in America and asking people, hey, can we use, we use your campus green?
Will Ritter is director of candidate operations for Mitt Romney.
Let's get to work.
Campaign staffs try to make sure the right number of people show up. Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign was run by Patty Salas Doyle.
You make phone calls to your local supporters. You do robocalls.
Hillary's going to be here. Please show up.
Yes.
They even advertise in the sky.
Ready for the message? And then mittromney.com/tickets. See if the plane company can do the slash.
Because if the arena is bigger than the crowd, that looks bad.
The football stadium seats about 80,000 people. Only problem? Romney had about 1,000 people in the crowd, making the event look like a total flop.
It's Ritter's job to make sure that doesn't happen.
6 really talented advanced people on the ground here for 5 days.
We were actually painting part of the backdrop for the shot that you see from the riser. We finished that late in the night.
Campaigns obsess about every sign, every camera angle.
You have to learn to see these campaigns through the lens of a camera. And if you can't do that, it all gets left here on the field.
We'll take cameras in there of our own, and we'll set them up on our risers that we set for the press, and look at it and make sure the angles are right.
That the shot comes from over there, straight across, and then behind that group of people is Romney Ryan.
And the always notice about signs is that they're always in the perfect position for the television cameras or the still photographers to pick them up.
Because of how cameras work, we've got something here like 40, 50-foot banners to cover buildings and to get in the tight shot.
So it's the first thing that he walks past as people see, and he makes his pivot toward the stage.
What difference does it make?
Oh, visuals matter so much. Campaigns come down to photographs and photography, and cameras need things. They need light, they need sound. Take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next President of the United States.
Keep it up, keep it up. Pull back, keep going. Down, kill it. If we fail, the message stays here with 2,000 or 3,000 people in Cleveland, Ohio. The goal is to make sure it translates to as many folks as possible.
So Ritter monitors the events as they happen.
Hey, Will. You're live on all the cables. Can I get more hand signs to that crowd behind the Gov?
Setting up one event may take weeks, and yet...
And it may last 10 minutes.
Then they do it again.
1, 2 in the morning, we'll be on the road. It all goes into a truck, and it all heads to the next site.
Do you ever sleep? Do you ever shower? Do you smell bad?
Right when Congressman Ryan was announced, I think we went basically 3 days with no sleep, no showers.
And always with the fear that one simple mistake, even a poorly chosen image, can destroy a campaign. Ask Michael Dukakis.
He didn't want to wear the helmet. I heard his body man tell the lead advance person he doesn't want to wear a helmet. He understood that that wasn't going to be a good television shot.
Consultant Steve Murphy worked with Dukakis.
The answer came back, we've arranged for you to ride in a tank. They will not let you ride in a tank without wearing a helmet because it's unsafe. He relented. He should have stuck with his instincts.
That moment turned into this commercial.
And now he wants to be our commander-in-chief. America can't afford that risk.
Do ads like that really work? The consultants think they do.
3, 4.
They still rave about this ad. It ran only once, but was talked about so much on TV, they say it changed all campaigns. It was the first negative ad to use fear and raw emotion.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
These are the stakes. We must either love each other or we must die.
Vote or die. Pretty relevant.
But pretty unfair, a smear on Goldwater.
Gee.
Mark McKinnon worked on the Bush campaign, which ran this ad showing the candidate consoling 9/11 victims.
Our president took Ashley in his arms and just embraced her. And it was at that moment that we saw Ashley's eyes fill up with tears.
Come on, this is the presidency. You're playing this music, and we're supposed to vote for this guy because she tears up?
That's exactly what they did. This ad aired in Ohio in late 2004, was absolutely pivotal.
It's morning again in America.
This ad's also praised.
Today, more men and women will go to work than ever before in our country's history.
Beckel worked for Reagan's opponent at the time.
And I see this ad come on television, and it's this farmer and his son in this beautiful pasture, and they put their hands over their hearts as the flag comes. I stood up and put my hand over my heart. And the tagline is, re-elect Ronald Reagan. I said, are you kidding me? That is blatant and good. You may think that's
corny.
You may think it's corny, but let's face it, Stossel. You think everything's corny, okay? But if you can get an image like that, it really matters.
Ed Rollins was Reagan's campaign manager.
There's two kinds of arguments you make in a campaign. One is an intellectual argument, and one is an emotional argument.
When Beckel ran Mondale's campaign, he happened to see this Wendy's ad.
Where's the beef?
Wendy's was trying to convince people that their burgers had more beef.
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
You were at home watching TV with your girlfriend and you saw this ad.
Yeah, I saw the ad, and it was actually my girlfriend who said to me, you know, that reminds me of Gary Hart. What's he all about? And all of a sudden it clicked.
Well, that's not polling. This is just a comment from a girlfriend.
No, that's right, but that's
you
what
probably
triggered
liked her too much.
Yeah, no, that's not. I didn't, actually. But that triggered in my mind something that made some sense that we could put on the next poll. And so we put it on a poll. It tested well.
So Mondale used it in a debate.
Where's the beef? Yeah.
Wendy's had spent $100 million on an ad campaign to give me an opening for a line, and I want to thank them very much.
And that worked? That made a difference?
It changed the race around overnight because it confirmed in people's minds something that had been on their minds, which was, is this guy really up to it? Does he have the experience to do it? And Hart, who had been on such an offensive, all of a sudden has to be on the defensive, and he doesn't handle it very well.
There were several things that Hart didn't handle well, but that's another story.
He was reeling, and we came right back in with another punch, which was the red phone.
The most awesome, powerful responsibility in the world lies in the hand that picks up this phone.
Again, they use emotion to sell the idea that Gary Hart was style, not substance.
Vote as if the future of the world is at stake.
Decades later,
it's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. But there's a phone in the White House and it's ringing.
Hillary Clinton's consultants used the same theme to attack Barack Obama.
Who do you want answering the phone?
In this case, it was Barack Obama. Could he answer the red phone at 3 o'clock in the morning? We say, could Gary Hart answer the red phone at 2 o'clock in the morning? Now, yeah, do we think that they might have stolen it from us? Absolutely.
Today's ads are more likely to be direct attacks.
Barack Obama, what a disappointment.
Americans say, we don't like these attacks, but they do work. In the swing states, they now run all the time.
If you're sick of hearing me approve this message, believe me, so am I. I'm Barack Obama.
I'm Mitt Romney, and I approve this message.
However, most of you won't see those messages. You've been excluded. I'll explain why next. Political parties spend millions trying to persuade you to vote for their candidate. But there's more to it than just convincing you. First, they obsess about whether you are worth convincing.
The whole art of politics, and presidential politics particularly, is to target those people who are with you at the beginning and leave them alone until you need to get them to vote. Target those who are going to be against you and don't stir them up, and focus everything you can on those who are persuadable.
And that may just be 10% of the people? 20%?
Yeah, well, it used to be about 20%, but now this year, particularly, it's down to about 10%. So the art of finding that 10% is really going to be key to all this.
No one did that better than Karl Rove. He pioneered what he called micro-targeting, and that was credited with winning the 2004 election. He compiled reams of information about people.
If they own a gun, what magazines they read,
no,
what car they own.
We had a micro-targeted voter file in which we had up to 225 pieces of household-level information about them. We knew what kind of car they had.
Republicans today most often drive Ford Mustangs, Audis, Mercedes. Democrats are more likely to own a Honda Civic Hybrid, a Volvo, or Nissan Leaf. They even watch different TV shows. Conservatives like Dancing with the Stars and Modern Family.
You won't have to pay taxes for the rest of your life.
Liberals are more likely to watch Law and Order or 30 Rock.
Tonight, TGS will not be the worst thing on television. It'll be John Stossel. Who's with me?
Yeah, not surprised that liberals watch that.
What difference does that make?
It tells you things like, if you want to reach an independent swing woman voter, buy the House and Garden channel. If you want to reach a Republican-leaning but less likely to vote independent swing man, go buy the Golf Channel.
Rove did research on blacks who might vote for Bush and found many are Christians who watch these TV preachers.
Now, in the name of Jesus, I command this debt out of my life.
So Rove placed advertisements there.
In Ohio, in 2000, Bush got 8% of the African-American vote. In 2004, he got 16% because we were able to identify a group of African-American voters who, though their history was overwhelmingly Democrat, we had clues that gave us a sense that they might be reachable.
This year, consultants want to reach not just swing voters, but swing voters in these 10 states.
And you take a map of the United States and you just cross out states. Just cross them out. Say, we can't win here.
The rest of us, most of us, don't really count. We live in the wrong state. I live in New York. My state's electoral votes will go to Obama. No doubt. Doesn't matter what I do. Or if all New York swing voters shift their votes. If you live in Texas, same deal. Doesn't matter who you vote for. Texas will go to Romney.
Why campaign in the other states?
We don't. Why waste our time?
They do go there, but just to raise money from rich people. But otherwise, the consultants ignore 40 of 50 states.
This is not about a national campaign. It's about persuadable voters in a few states. That's what matters.
Today, campaign managers copy Rove's numbers-based strategy. 2 steps. First, identify your key voters, and then get them to vote.
Your only priority today is getting people to vote.
They call it GOTV.
My name is Marilee, and I'm a volunteer calling to ask you to vote.
Have you had a chance to go vote yet?
Hundreds and hundreds of volunteers to knock on their door. You have to call them and remind them today is caucus day, today is voting day. You call them once, you call them twice.
And I was just calling to remind you that today is election day. And
You can't just trust what they say on the... You call them again?
Sure. You
and
make sure they know where their polling place is. It all boils down to this one day, so you have to make sure your voters get out there.
Hi, my name is Annie.
Today, the phone system's automated. A volunteer presses a button. A phone automatically dials the likely supporter, and her name pops up along with a script.
Have you had a chance to go vote yet?
The campaign had called these people months before.
This is a very close race, and we appreciate your getting out and voting.
And the computer kept track of who said they'd vote for their candidate. Then, on election day, you call them again to make sure they did.
You did? Well, wonderful. Thank you, Mrs. Casey.
If you suspect they might not vote.
Show up with a bus, show up with a personal car. People don't just vote anymore. Now you go and pick them up and take them there.
Yeah, it's an art form.
When we return, I'll show you how campaigns manipulate people like me. Sometimes I feel sorry for presidential candidates. I feel they're strained because they have to face us, the media.
Look at the candidate's smile. You know they must be upset at questions like this.
He also said that you are America's most feckless president since Carter.
He smiles. They rarely show anger. They just keep smiling and laughing.
Thank you, thank you.
Don't get the impression that you arouse my anger.
Often they don't like the reporters.
One can only be angry with those he respects.
I bet Mitt Romney doesn't respect the reporters who followed him when he went to a memorial site.
Despite the somber nature of the moment, U.S. reporters shouted questions at him.
What about your gas? Governor Romney, do you feel that your gas have overshadowed your foreign trip?
One of his aides told the reporters, "Kiss my." But the candidates just smile and repeat the message of the day. Consultants view reporters as conduits for their message.
Their usefulness is what they can do to carry a message to the voters. Outside of that, they're useless.
You have a message of the day so that we simple-minded reporters don't get confused by too many messages?
I would never call you simple-minded, but yes.
To build that bridge to the 21st century.
At the '96 convention, Bill Clinton said build a bridge 22 times.
Build a bridge to help our parents raise their children. To build that bridge. Bridge, 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 bridge.
All right already. I would think a candidate would say to you, you want me to repeat myself that much? I'll look like a moron.
Yeah, and they do say that. And the really good ones, you know, finally say, I get it, and they do it.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
I look at these reporters who complain about it, you know, and I think, you little wusses, you're sitting back there, you don't like the message, you got to listen to it all the time. Well, too bad. Stay home.
But the media need the candidates. They give us viewers.
It is ice cold and tasty.
And so we follow them everywhere.
What you got? Groceries.
Mitt Romney's followed by a pack of dozens of reporters and producers, sometimes by plane, more often by bus. The pack call their life living in the bubble. Nicole Bush of Fox lives in that bubble. She's what we call a campaign embed. She follows Romney around the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
How many cities have you been to?
I don't know how many cities I've been in.
Lost count?
I have definitely lost count. It's not uncommon to lose track of time, day, time zone, but I do know.
Wake up, you don't know where you are.
The room always looks the same, but the bathroom door is in a different place.
Every day, Nicole and the others follow the candidates and videotape anything that might be interesting. When I was her age, it took 4 beefy union workers to do what she's doing.
What do you have with you?
A camera, all the cables that you need, the microphones, the tripod, and your personal bag. Kind of like a satellite truck in a box.
It's a tough job for reporters and the campaign staffs.
The emotional and physical toll that running a presidential campaign takes on people is enormous. You're working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. You've got a candidate on the phone every hour who's calling in complaining about something. You just want to tell them to shut up and get back to work. It also requires having either a understanding wife or you're divorced. You know, and in my case, I got divorced.
If you like vegetables, it's probably not for you. If you like sleep, it might not be for you. But it's fascinating.
The 18-hour days don't seem like 18-hour days. They seem like it happened like that.
Nicole gets just 4 or 5 hours of sleep. She's usually up around 5 in the morning, and by 6 a.m.
You have already received probably about 3 or 4 emails from the campaign giving you an idea of what the messaging will be for the day.
The PAC wants something new or a mistake.
I've now been in 57 states.
So candidates try to stick to the script.
For an economy that's built to last. For an economy that's built to last. It's built to last.
Nicole says she doesn't mind hearing the same speech again and again.
When you know his speech so well in and out, it makes it that much easier to pinpoint when there's something new. It's almost like your ears perk up.
The whole pack suddenly perks up? What was that?
You see all of us, furiously typing or tweeting.
Sometimes campaigns play with reporters, use us for their purposes.
You get a joy in fooling the media?
Yes, but more importantly, you want to control, in a campaign, you want to have your own narrative at your own time.
My running mate, Dick Cheney.
Before Bush made this announcement, Rove wanted to mislead the media.
We had a guy in the campaign who was a leaker.
And how do you know he was a leaker?
Well, because he was a leaker. So he said, "What's going on in the vice presidency? What's going on?" I said, "Look, big secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody." But Bush has decided to go with Jack Danforth of Missouri.
The media ran with the false story.
Felt sort of bad, but I wasn't the one lying to the media. I was just the guy giving misdirection to the guy who'd then go leak.
Lying to the guy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But what difference does it make in terms of electability?
What it does is it helps tell a story. Would you want to have the story told by an evening anchor, or do you want to have the story told by the candidate who expresses in front of the cameras with as few filters as possible why he made this choice?
4 years later, the New York Post said John Kerry had picked Richard Gebhardt to be his running mate. But of course this was a mistake. Kerry had picked John Edwards. Edwards turned out to be another kind of mistake, but that's another story. What the media reported even fooled Gebhardt's campaign manager.
I called up Dick Gebhardt and I said, "Dick, I know you can't really talk about this." He said, "It never happened." I said, "Dick, I understand that you have to deny it to me and everybody else." But he said, "Steve, it didn't happen."
Why wouldn't you believe him when he said so emphatically? There was no meeting.
You absolutely must keep all of the conversation going on with the putative nominee.
So lying is okay in politics? Running for office.
Lying is not okay unless you're asked an inappropriate question.
Politicians have always lied.
Well, I'm not a crook.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The media used to give candidates privacy, even keep their secrets. They rarely pictured FDR in his wheelchair. They kept JFK's sexual activities secret. But now everything's game, and that's a good thing, even though we reporters are sometimes obnoxious.
And the next time, I'd prefer you let me finish my statements before you ask that question.
Next, are you ready for some presidential debates? We'll show you the secrets behind the debates.
There you go again.
For months, Mitt Romney and President Obama have attacked each other, talked past each other. But 3 times this fall, they face each other. Debates can make a big difference.
You're never going to have as many people watching your two candidates together in a presidential election as you're going to have on debate night.
And the campaigns can't control the debate the way they control everything else.
No matter what you do as a manager to get them ready for it, he's still got to step in the arena, and it's just 2 of them. And you don't know.
It's 3 agencies of government when I get there that are gone. Commerce, education, and the, what's the third one there? Let's see.
One brain freeze can end your campaign.
Commerce, and let's see.
Rick Perry was a serious contender until this debate.
Oops.
Forgetting's bad, and looking bad is bad. In the very first TV debate, Richard Nixon refused to put on makeup. It hurt him. Nixon later said,
More important than what you say is how you look on television.
And so campaigns obsess over details. When Ronald Reagan debated Walter Mondale, Rollins and Beckel were the opposing campaign managers.
You remember the amount of time we spent debating the debate, all the logistics of it, how high the podiums were going to be,
How much
far
time?
apart? Oh, days.
Days.
Days?
Oh yeah, we had teams negotiating.
Like how many, time, where they are,
color of the room.
How high.
What difference would it make to the candidate what color the room was?
Because in certain conditions and certain colors work for certain candidates.
Because Mondale was shorter than Reagan.
We wanted more distance between the 2 podiums. I remember we debated between 7.5 feet and 9 feet for it seemed like a day and a half.
The first debate came, and Reagan struggled.
2/3 of the defense budget pays for pay and salary, or pay and pension.
He looked a little tired. He looked a little ragged. The general observation was that they just spent too much time with a 70-some-odd-year-old guy trying to beat every factoid that they could into his brain.
People said, Reagan's too old for the office.
You already are the oldest president in history.
In the very next debate, Reagan was ready for that.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
He delivers the line, and there's a impish sense of humor that comes out, and you see the little curl in his lips, and he's making fun of himself, but you know he's delivered a great line. And Mondale can't help himself. He is simultaneously laughing and at the same time knowing I've just been taken out to the cleaners.
I turned to the guy next to me, who was my deputy, and said, "This race is over."
Just from that?
Yeah, and I walked away. Didn't listen to the rest of it.
Most people only remember one thing about the 1988 vice presidential debate. What Senator Lloyd Bentsen said when Dan Quayle compared his experience to JFK's.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Years later in a debate, Al Gore walked up to Bush.
So Al Gore tries to come over and be the bully and get in his space. You remember the moment. Bush doesn't say anything. He just looks at him, smiles, gives him the head wink, and goes on.
And I believe I can.
That was it. It just absolutely devastating to Gore.
And you watching go, yes.
Yeah, we all revert to our junior high mentality. When our team scores, yeah,
What most people don't know is that Bush had been prepared.
Judd Gregg, who had played the role of Al Gore in the debate prep and had seen him pull this trick, so he had said to Bush, be prepared, he's going to come get in your face. And we all dismissed it at the time. But sure enough, it happened.
Which raises the question, how do candidates prepare? These 2 debate coaches showed me. Mark McKinnon and Brett O'Donnell prepped President Bush for debates. O'Donnell later coached Mitt Romney and Michelle Bachmann. The coaches spend hours trying to replicate debate moments.
You have the candidates stand in front of a podium like this as realistic as possible.
Yeah, you want just a strong bearing, erect near the podium. Look at Colin Powell. I mean, he just commands a podium. It's like this.
It's about, making sure that you fill the stage more than your opponent does.
The candidates practice debating stand-ins. For Obama, John Kerry's played Romney. Rob Portman plays Obama.
You never see videotape of this. You don't even see pictures.
No, There's a reason why. You don't want to show those vulnerable moments.
We don't want to give away any component to our prep.
In the 2000 campaign, one of McKinnon's secretaries gave Bush debate prep video to the Gore campaign.
The Gore campaign very smartly went right to the FBI.
And what happened to her?
She went to prison for a year.
What's so secret? I pretended to be a candidate.
Clear and simple, limited government.
You say limited government. What kind of limits are you talking about? Can you be specific about the cuts you're talking about?
Yes, I can list cuts.
Would you cut defense?
I would cut defense.
So you're soft on defense.
I knew how I should answer the questions, but under pressure, it's hard.
I'm just saying shrink it back to the Clinton days.
My instinct is to just answer the questions that are asked, but consultants say, don't.
You're still answering my questions, but most of the time, you want to be delivering your message.
They say Sarah Palin was good at that.
Governor Palin answered the questions in her debate on her terms.
Governor Palin, is that so?
That is not so, but because that's just a quick answer, I want to talk about, again, my record on energy.
She was able to pivot most of the questions onto ground that she was comfortable in handling the questions on.
They kept grilling me.
You believe college is stupid? Don't you think that saying college is stupid is an irresponsible remark to make?
No. For some people, college is stupid.
You just gave them some tape.
Now they're going to make a commercial of you saying college is stupid.
Don't vote for Stossel. He says
college is stupid.
College is stupid. Stossel, bad for our kids, bad for America.
Knowing that one bad debate moment can wreck your campaign makes candidates very careful. When Gerald Ford debated Jimmy Carter, there was a technical glitch.
The pool broadcasters from Philadelphia have temporarily lost the audio.
Instead of leaving the stage to take a break, neither candidate moved.
David, we don't know what's happened. We're as much surprised by what's going on as you are.
Since one wasn't going to budge, the other didn't budge.
So they stood there like mannequins for almost half an hour.
The ultimate fear is making a mistake or that the other guy's going to look better, so they were frozen.
The first President Bush was criticized for looking at his watch too much during a debate.
He looked at his watch, so what?
It's a nonverbal clue that says, I want to get away from this situation as fast as possible.
And that hurt him.
He was widely viewed as losing that debate. It overran the message.
Al Gore was criticized after this debate for sighing while George Bush spoke.
Alaska. There's a lot of shut-in gas. State of Texas. That's what a governor gets. This is a major problem, Social Security.
And he looked like a doofus. He was castigated for this debate performance as a result. The next debate, Al Gore went the opposite direction and went out of his way to be docile and agreed with virtually everything Bush said.
The governor and I agree. I agree with Governor Bush, and I basically agree with Dick Cheney.
Embarrassing episodes like those are why candidates practice a lot.
These discussions go on for how long?
Hours. For most candidates, it is the most hated part of the campaign.
Does the candidate ever get mad?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's painful. It's not fun.
The candidates ever yell at you?
Yell, collapse, walk out.
But they all do it because practice builds confidence, and
the confident guy wins, not the guy who has the better answer.
Quite often, yeah.
Confidence, not competence, often wins. And so do looks. That's next. People complain that political campaigns are too shallow. Why don't they talk more about the important issues? Well, there's a good reason. Who's this?
Oh my gosh, how can I not know this?
Who's this?
I have no idea. I'm not doing very good on the government questions, am I?
Yet there are all these get-out-the-vote campaigns.
Vote!
Vote!
Vote, vote, vote.
Please, please vote.
Get out and vote!
But I don't want everyone to vote because some people don't know much.
I went to Times Square and showed people posters of important politicians. Most people didn't know Speaker of the House, John Boehner.
So who's this?
I have no idea.
Many didn't know Nancy Pelosi.
Who's this?
I don't know. Oh my God.
Well, this is awkward.
That's the vice president of something.
Let's test the actual vice president.
Who's this?
I don't know who that one is.
So what's the vice president? I just can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Biden.
No.
Many were better at celebrities.
Tom Cruise.
Justin Bieber.
It's not that people are stupid, but most Americans spend more time thinking about other things.
The average amount of time that a person spends on presidential politics in the course of a campaign is probably about 3 hours.
That may shock you political junkies who watch Fox, but Americans spend much more time thinking about food, money, sex. Politics is way down the list. It's a reason they keep appeals simple, emotional.
There is a bear in the woods.
Republicans run ads like this one to suggest Democrats are soft on defense.
Isn't it smart to be as strong as the bear?
We, the Republicans, we see the threat, and we're going to take action to protect the nation from this. Democrats, you can't trust them.
Jonathan Haidt's research, based on surveys of thousands of people, concluded that most of us choose our political party less on facts and more on which politician seems to be like members of our clan. He says conservatives join with people who worry more about foreign threats. Liberals are more likely to obsess about the purity of nature.
May I please have some more arsenic in my water, Mommy?
These sort of sanctity, purity ideals around the environment.
More salmonella in my cheeseburger, please.
Writer Leonard Lodno says lots of research shows the subconscious matters more than facts.
A professor in Princeton did this very illuminating study. He gathered pairs of photos of candidates from dozens of congressional and gubernatorial elections. And he showed them to the people briefly and said, just pick who looks more competent.
Here's how most people rank them.
And then he made a bold prediction. He predicted the outcomes of all those races based solely on which candidate looked more competent. Not beautiful, but more competent. 70% of the time, the more competent-looking person won the election. And
how does one look competent?
Well, people were using their gut instinct.
For some reason, candidates with more narrow, angular faces, as shown here, are seen as more competent. As a face becomes rounder and more baby-faced, people say that person looks less competent.
People make instantaneous decisions based on looks?
Looks, voice, posture.
Barack Obama, for example, better fits the angular stereotype of a competent person than John McCain. Mitt Romney and Obama appear about equal. Consultants even worry about the people who stand behind the candidates. At this Obama rally, people were already seated behind the podium when a staffer, highlighted here, came on stage and got some white people to move out.
If you look at a candidate for president, and he's got a bunch of people arrayed behind him, and I'll guarantee you that half will be men, half will be women.
And a certain number will be of a different race. In this case, the result is that the camera now will see some minorities behind Obama.
There'll be a percentage of blacks, a percentage of Hispanics, a percentage of Asians. That's the way you do it.
I assume it just worked out that way.
You did. Well, that's why you're sitting where you're sitting, and that's why I'm sitting where I'm sitting. Because you don't have a clue about how this works.
Hello, sweetheart. People have to be cynical about baby kissing.
Kids are a particularly good attraction for people, and I always like to use kids. You're beautiful. I'm always worried they're going to pick up a baby and drop it.
So much superficiality. But for all the shallowness and dirtiness of politics, there is some good news. That's next. Politics is a nasty business with constant fighting. It's like a boxing match.
And down he goes.
So it's telling that this is what two of our consultants used to do.
You both were serious boxers as kids. What weight?
What do you think? It was a heavyweight.
And this helps in campaigns?
It teaches how to take a beating, which is
Sure
very
does.
important.
Here's what Rollins looked like when he was getting ready for a physical beating. Consultants say this prepares you for political beatings.
If you don't have a tough skin in this business, you might as well just forget about wanting to ever do it, because you'll be in a psychiatric unit.
You also need a passion for politics.
You were a vocal supporter of Richard Nixon at age 9?
At age 9.
What kind of political freak are you? This is not healthy.
Well, I've always been interested in politics. I was for Nixon, and I scored a bumper sticker somehow, and I put it on the wire basket of my bike, and I rode it up and down the street, hoping to generate support for Nixon. This worked really well until the little Catholic girl across the street, who was on fire for Kennedy, literally pulled me off my bicycle, put me down on the pavement, sat astride me, and wailed the heck out of me, gave me a bloody nose. And I've never liked losing a political fight since.
His opponents often hate him.
The era of Karl Rove politics will finally be over next year.
Angry stuff. And Beckel and Rollins have fought each other viciously for years. And yet, weirdly, these tough guys came to this interview together.
You guys spend a career trying to kill each other's careers, but you're friends.
Great friends.
Been great friends for 25
Why?
years. you come to appreciate what the other guy, your counterpart, has to go through every day. I particularly respect Ed. I mean, he kicked my butt.
It's reassuring that they're friends. It says something good about America, where every few years people vote peaceably and politicians abide by the results. In many other countries, that's not how it works. Egypt's president held office 30 years. He left only when he had to. In Russia, Putin may never leave power. Throughout history, most of the world has been like that. America electing leaders who later voluntarily stepped down was a radical idea. After George Washington served 2 terms, King George reportedly said, "If George Washington gives up power, he'll be the greatest man in the world." Yet he did. And then it happened again and again, without bloodshed.
In Romney's world, workers get the shaft.
Amidst the ugliness of this year's campaign,
Would you please wait?
all the shouting and fighting, it's good to remember that our system, with all its acrimony,
You didn't build that.
has worked better than so many alternatives. We fight.
It's an economic ignoramus.
But in the end, we shake hands and honor the result. So whatever happens this year, the making of an American president is a pretty wonderful thing.
That's our show for tonight. I'm John Stossel. Thanks for watching.